You're going to find yourself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So you're off in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. Doesn't qualify as well as he races. Only
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Hayes deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
And I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Oh, Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And it definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pite's pushed more and forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pite could have a go. Werrell, don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's in such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Bill Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's all about the entertainment.
So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is enjoying himself watching. The Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
coming down the
We
side.
have it!
He's going to get it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to PRL for round 5 around Austria today. As you might be able to tell, it's not quite Darragh leading the broadcast, is of course JGM, otherwise known as Josh, and alongside me I have the one and only Deathlink 10, otherwise known as Alex Heron. Alex, it's a pleasure to have you here representing PRL with myself.
Yeah, thank you for that lovely intro, Josh. It's very good to be here for PRL. Of course, I'm only replacing someone this week, but you know, hopefully I can do a good job here for PRL. And we've got a great race lined up today, Josh.
Absolutely, Austria. Spielberg Mountains. It's a fantastic race circuit. It's absolutely, it's fluid. It's brilliant. It's just a piece of art, I dare say. This circuit, it's crafted by the gods. It's shaped like them as well. Because boy, oh boy, it's fantastic. You think about Lauda into turn 1, all the way up to turn 3, ignoring that little turn 2 kink, which actually still counts as a corner on the majority of summaries around this circuit. But to me, still not a corner. And then, of course, you've got it all raging back down the hill into turn 4 for great overtaking opportunities, left, right, and centre. But we mentioned it before, me and Darragh, we're very passionate about these next load of rounds coming up. Of course, we've got Austria, then we've got the mid-season break, and then we hop over to Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia and Qatar. This could very well be one of the last chances these drivers get to make their stamp down on this European section of the calendar. And if we consider the standings at this point in time as well, so far it looks like Alex, otherwise known as Vatsim Racer, seems to be enjoying life up at the top there in that Mercedes outfit.
Yeah, 107 points up at the top. Obviously, picked up the win last time out in the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort by only about 0.5 of a second. So it must have been a very close finish at the end of the last race. That was URL Basil,
yeah, Basil, like the brush.
Yep, who finished in second, and then of course you see Raben, who is second in the standings, finished in third place, only 1.3 seconds back. So those top 3 very close indeed. But again, we go to a new circuit. Austria, very different to Zandvoort. I expect to see some good racing. Of course, those 3 DRS zones around that circuit. Always a chance of a bit of rain as well. And I don't know if you've got the constructors as well, Josh. Just want to go through the constructors quickly.
Go for it. Yeah.
Sitting top of the constructors standings on 125 points, followed by Mercedes on 114, and then Alfa Romeo on 84. So top 3 still very close together.
Yes, absolutely. It's all tied. You know, it's all very tight up on the constructors. But personally, we're focusing on the individuals here because there are some very talented ones. But of course, with talented individuals comes competitiveness, and with competitiveness comes incidents. Of course, last week around Zandvoort, it was absolute carnage. We had so many drivers picking up penalties left, right, and centre. So hopefully, we're going to be in for a slightly bit of a cleaner race here. I mean, we've even had race bans handed out, 20 seconds worth of penalties, 10 seconds worth of penalties, here, there, and everywhere. But moving to a track like Austria, where it encourages this sort of close-knit racing between the drivers, it's certainly going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye out for, as well as the fact that it's not all just about the race here at PRL. It's a fantastic initiative they've got, where they offer the sprint racing points. So that'll be 8 points for first place, 7 for second place, all the way down to 8th place, receiving 1 point for the qualifying runs. And around a track like Austria, it can really make the difference. Having that little advantage you get from the qualifying to grab yourself a couple points here and there. So if an incident does happen, you've still got a little bit of safe netting to gather up those points and kind of hoard them all to yourself during this qualifying segment. It's going to be a great opportunity for those drivers who are definitely more proficient in their qualifying trim than maybe the race trim to really show what they're made of.
It certainly is, and of course, qualifying around Austria is always very close. It's a very short circuit. In fact, it's a 36-lap Grand Prix. I believe it's 50%, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So 36-lap Grand Prix. You might think, oh, we're going to be here forever. Trust me, that will fly by in this race. And everyone's going to be trying to set the fastest lap. Could be problems with track limits and traffic, of course. It's a short circuit. Traffic can come into effect.
Absolutely. I mean, it's somewhat similar to Zandvoort, but, you know, given we've got more drivers here as well this week than in Zandvoort, it's certainly got to throw a couple spanners in the works for a couple of these drivers who'd like to go out and grab early runs, because we've quite often seen that it tends just to really flow naturally when these drivers decide to go out of the pit box. They don't necessarily go to a set run plan. They're more than happy to kind of just go out and do their own thing, and that kind of gives the genuine fluidity of what they're capable of, what they like to do, and they certainly have a way of showing it on circuit. A lot of drivers tend to opt to go for maybe multiple laps on a medium set of tyres to get themselves integrated into the circuit a little more, and then of course you've got those who risk it on the inters, go and give it a couple of laps of a dry, try and get themselves familiar with it, and then of course you've got the ones who go straight out on a set of soft tyres and absolutely wing it, and I feel like it's going to be no different here today, as we've already got Mataldo Futti in the Alfa Romeo car, absolutely beautiful as ever, hopping out the pit lane, looking... Oh, it's beautiful. It is beautiful. I'm just so glad we're here in Austria. I cannot wait.
No, it's going to be great. This is obviously very much a brilliant qualifying session of the year. 17 minutes on the clock, and obviously we've got the Alfa Romeo out first, but the Mercedes has just overtaken him there. I believe that's Finbop, not
Yes.
that sim racer. That sim racer is still in the pits, but Finbop looking for his first lap time of the session. Already got DRS open there, just making sure it works. You don't want to go on a lap and make sure your DRS doesn't work. That would be bad.
No, I mean, of course, you gotta want the DRS to work, especially given how much time it's worth around this circuit. You're looking at probably about 6 or 7 temps per lap. If you had some sort of malfunction, maybe your button wasn't working properly on your rim, you know, anything which really would impact this, you're potentially looking at, you know, even missing out getting into the top 10, top 15 here with how close this grid is. But there's so many different drivers which go for different run plans. As you mentioned, track limits are going to be a key part heading through these 2 final corners around Austria. But not only that, making sure you avoid the traffic. We can already see Rapid Mini going for an outlap on that medium set of tyres, already knowing not necessarily going to be the most competitive lap times. It could potentially find themselves a little bit in the muds when it comes to moving out the way of the traffic, because last thing you want to do is get a set of those medium tyres, scrub them up, as we see the Mercedes outfit once again working brilliantly, just offering a little bit of a tow there for Finbop heading up into turn 3. It's fantastic the way these teams sort of work together, they organise stuff, they make sure everyone's working in a great fluid motion. Altogether, I feel like this qualifying session might be one of the best ones we've had so far this season.
Certainly hope so, certainly hope so. We obviously talk about stuff like Monaco being one of the best qualifying sessions of the year, but this can actually lead to a really good race as well, not just a good qualifying session. So Finbop's still going for his lap time here. I think, you know, he got a nice slipstream from his teammate there, Josh, coming out the main straight. I wonder if they had planned that a bit early on. But I am looking forward to seeing what his lap time is. We're going to be in the low... Well, obviously we're going to be in the 101... I'm going to say
101?
105. Well, it would have been a 105 if he hadn't invalidated his lap time, Josh.
It would have been a 104, in fact, Alex. You're slightly wrong there. But again, just going to show the level of talent these drivers have at PRL, especially in Tier 1. I mean, we saw it last week as well. Those Tier 2 drivers who came up into Tier 1 and put on a better performance than what they actually did in their own tier. I'm not sure what it is. It might be just something special in the air, but these drivers are always able to find something to kind of work themselves to the top, as Devil does with a 105 fight. But I say that, Bernardo immediately comes in with a 104 too. Brilliant stuff, and we can only expect these lap times to tumble with the track evolution around this circuit playing a huge key factor throughout this qualifying stage.
Yep, track evolution is always going to be massive around a circuit like Austria, of course, one of those traditional circuits we race on, Josh, not one of those silly little street circuits we get to race on nowadays. But Rapid Scissors is going to cross the line with a 104.4, very competitive lap time. Not as fast as Mr. Banana so far, but that sim racer, of course, top of the standings, is going for his lap time here. You expect him to go fastest here, Josh. Oh, he was very much on the limit there. Did he back out?
Yeah, he's backed out now, but
wow.
I feel like that's because he had a little bit of a wobble. Again, it all comes down to just preparing yourself, making sure you've got that set up and you are perfectly dialed in. As we're going to see Alberto here looking to take that turn 3 apex. And again, it can be so challenging trying to get the traction down from the rear tyres around the circuit because of how much the car is constantly being leaned on through every single corner, every single apex, every single traction zone. The car just doesn't want to stick to the ground. That's why we see so many drivers taking a little bit too much understeer, drifting it a little bit wide. It's purely because the way the cars are set up to be quick on the straights doesn't make it so friendly around the corners.
No, and it's one of those things where you've got to really balance that out, haven't you, Josh? You've got to really have the balancing act of downforce and slipstream and straight line speed. But something I can tell you from tinkering with these setups a lot is these cars, because they're very much downforce related. They are obviously the ground effect era of Formula One we are in at the moment. The more downforce you slap on these cars, the better they feel. Even if you lose a bit of straight line speed, the amount of times you can stick with a car with slipstream or DRS, we can keep up even with that amount of downforce you have on. It may be harder to overtake, but the power of ERS and DRS can definitely help us here.
I know, it's like it's got its own like little infinity stones, isn't it? All being put together to try and make one brilliant race. But again, you've got to consider DRS train. It's going to be a prominent feature here. You've got the 3 DRS zones. The drivers are all going to be looking to try and navigate their way through the DRS train in a safe and efficient manner. But when it comes to a circuit like Austria, it's so hard to do. There's a very finite amount of drivers which are able to do that. As we see that sim racer come across the line with a 103.6. Brilliant lap time from him. What is AJ Mackie going to be able to put up on the medium tyres? We've been quite surprised from him before on the medium compounder tyre. And again, just showing he's no slouch, regardless of tyre compound. He doesn't need those C5s to go quick. He's more than happy to do it on a beautiful set of those medium tyres to really be able to get a lap time on the board. And then, of course, next time out, you would think, give him a soft tyre run. You see that green delta, it'll give you a little bit more confidence to keep pushing the car further and further out.
Yeah, and it was very interesting to see. That's not actually too bad of a lap time to go out straight away with a 105.4. Of course, these drivers are going to be burning a lot of fuel, but you'll see a lot here, Josh. Guys going for more lap times because you've got more time to come back out and do another lap. You're on maybe a set of soft tyres. You can probably do 3, maybe 4 sets of soft laps if you've got 4 sets of softs with you. It's very interesting to see because usually the strategy around here is medium hard or hard medium, so you don't really need to use these softs in the race.
Exactly, but again, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? You sort of do that, you get yourself a great position in qualifying, you bag yourself 8 points on pole, lovely day. Next thing you know, you're, 28 laps into the race, safety car comes out, everyone else puts on a fresh set of soft tyres, you're left with egg on your face. It's very much a double-edged sword for a lot of these drivers, and I'm sure they'll all be considering a potential for a safety car, a potential for different things to go wrong in this race, which could potentially, affect which sort of strategies they want to go for. But as you mentioned, it would probably be a wise choice to maybe go for that medium hard, just so they have that little bit of leeway in case they do get caught up in a collision. But Scarenzi once again showing the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, keeping that sim racer quite honest with a 104 flat. Brilliant lap time from Scarenzi, and you've got the feeling with 10 minutes left to go in the session we could see these lap times improve drastically.
Certainly, that sim racing 103.6 is a scorching lap time, by the way. I think people may underestimate how fast that is. As I say that, we see Mr. CES, I'm going to say Eric.
Yep.
Eric currently goes second fastest with a 103.9. Now, if those are their first lap times these guys are putting in, again, as you said, the lap times are only going to improve here, Josh. Maybe there's a big gap you see between the sim racer and Eric right now, but I guarantee you that will close up. So we got RBN here.
Rabin, I'm telling you, he's
Rabin.
quick. He's very quick.
Is he rapid?
He's not quite part of the Rapids clan, but Rabin is a very, very quick driver, and he just shows it there with a 104.3. Again, not everything is gained in qualifying. Of course, more points are there to be won in the race, but if you can get a setup dialed in to grab yourself 8 points in qualifying, and you're not feeling too confident about your race pace, it might certainly be the way to go for a couple of these drivers. But Rabin showing he's looking slightly further forward towards a race with a 104.3, because I know he's capable of just eking out a little bit more time here and there over his lap and over the course of a race as well.
And of course, yeah, there may be points available for qualifying, Josh, but some drivers don't like qualifying. Like, they are not huge on like that 1 lap pace, but in a race, they can chase you down and just eventually beat you, because they are better at time management. They're better at the consistency, like lap after lap after lap. And
Exactly.
yeah, maybe we've got people that can do a 104 or like a 103 as the sim racers set, but some people are very fortunate to have both of those skills of being good qualifying and at race, and that makes me very jealous.
Yeah, again, we've got a very similar dynamic to what myself and Darragh have. I tend to be very strong in the qualifying, but when it comes to racing, I can't keep the tyres alive for the sake of anything. But again, you're very much the opposite. You tend to struggle just a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 tenths off in qualifying, but when it comes to race pace, you nurture your tyres, you look after your car, and it rewards you. Something that I very much envy of. I'm sure a lot of these drivers, you know, they might notice a weakness in their game, they look to improve it, they look to become more consistent over time, and you can see it with the likes of Rapid Connor once again, just showing, maybe taking maybe 1 or 2 notches onto the front wing, just making a little bit slower in qualifying trim, but when it comes to race trim, we'll be able to just secure that life of a tyre just that little bit more and just sort of guide it through towards the end of the stint in a bit of a more comfortable fashion to gain him that little bit of extra time here and there, which is where you really need it around a circuit like Austria.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I was just doing a race earlier before we'd started commentating now, and I was told by my engineer, Mark, the engineer.
Right.
Is it Mark?
Well, it's not Jeff anymore, I know that much.
It's not
for
Jeff,
sure.
unfortunately, yeah. He was telling me after every lap that I was doing, he said, good work, sir, consistency is half of the battle. So I guess I was doing a consistent job. So listen to your engineers, everyone. Mark, he knows what he's talking about.
Absolutely. And, you know, you mentioned consistency's half of a battle. I would even go a step further and say it's the majority of a battle. Once again, we're seeing drivers being consistently scoring points, you know, grabbing a hold of a championship. That sim racer is a great example. He's always up there. He's always fighting for a win. But even when he doesn't win, he's finishing second, third. He's bringing that handful of points back to the team. He's not having bold risks. He's not trying to put the car where it shouldn't necessarily be. He knows what's within his limits. I mean, thinking back to Portimao, I know you wasn't there, Alex, but, you know, games of DRS chicken being played between the divisions as well. It's so interesting how these drivers are able to kind of work themselves into, you know, parts of a circuit where it might not necessarily be too opportunistic at the time, but looking back, you think, right, okay, he wasn't necessarily trying to go for that overtake. He was really trying to set himself up to make sure he was able to secure, you know, this position, that position, you know, whatever position necessarily they want, because these drivers all seem to have a magnificent way to be able to balance that act between pushing the car to its extremities and then also being able to understand what's reasonably capable of the car and of themselves and trying to maximise that, which is something I see a lot of drivers tend to struggle with here, there and everywhere. But we do currently have Scarenzi on a flying lap, purple in the middle sector, up by half a tenth, looking to close up that gap to Eric. Is it going to be enough? Flying through the top final 2 corners.
Ooh,
It's close, but it's not. It's not quite Carlin, is it? It's very, very close, but brilliant stuff there from Scarenzi, keeping Eric once again honest. And you've got to think, with a 3/10 gap between that sim racer and Eric, does that sim racer even feel like he needs to go out again? Because that is a massive gap.
Yeah, he's not moved out of the pit lane since he's on that first lap. Eric actually didn't improve his last lap. He stayed in the pit lane. So he went out and did a lap and then came back in. A lot of people are saying invalidated lap time as well. That's 100% fair, because we both know, Josh, this track is awful on its track limits. It's one of the worst in terms of track limit warnings. But it'll be very interesting to see if that sim racer comes out again, because he'll have a lot of fresh soft tyres available. I imagine he'll come out for the final run and he'll have one set of softs free for the race. But these other guys do they risk it? Do they think, right, we can't beat that sim racer, can I beat the car behind me? Sometimes you think about that in qualifying, especially, if we mention Formula 1 nowadays. If you look at Max right now, everyone's going to be thinking, how can I beat the car that's going to be behind me, not the car in front? No, at the moment, no one can challenge Max for that pole position. So you think about the car behind you.
Absolutely, and it can be one of those things where you're quite often told in karting, I know you've had it in your experience, not necessarily to look behind you too much, and always try to look forward, try and envision yourself getting that position. But again, it can be so disheartening when you keep looking forward and you've got a driver of the caliber of that sim racer who's able to pull out such a brilliant lap time. It can feel disheartening knowing that, yes, that's a rapid lap time and that you might not be able to beat it. But again, other drivers will take confidence off of that. They'll understand the task, they'll understand the limit, which is able to be found in these cars, and really want to try and match it and work, relentlessly every day, every night, just to try and make sure they're able to get up to that same sort of pace that sim racer is showing. And it feels very much like we've got that here at Tier 1 here for PRL. The drivers aren't, content with finishing a second or third. They want to keep pushing all the way, and they really want to push that sim racer right to the end, as that sim racer does finally come out for a lap. But we will see Basil here come across the line. What lap times are going to be? It's a 1:03.7, once again showing these gaps are closing. A little bit of track evolution surely isn't going to hurt anyone any which way. Rabham there with a 1:03.9 as well. It's all looking very steamy up at the top, especially for Crew Steamers, currently sitting in P13. But again, one of those drivers, ample of potential, looking to move themselves forward. Surely Austria is going to be a great opportunity for not only Crew Steamers, but the Ferrari team here to try and make their mark.
But of course, Ferrari's one of their last wins came around this circuit in real life, around Austria.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was Charles Leclerc's last victory in Formula 1 was around Austrian Grand Prix.
Very much so. Very, very much so. Again, being a Ferrari fanboy myself, it does hurt when Alex brings these up. But we're not here to talk about me.
It's only a fact. I wasn't making fun.
Okay. Because all I'm saying,
I can make fun if you want me to.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Because all I'm saying is a lot of these drivers here, as we see it. You mentioned about making fun about Ferrari, and Crew Steve has done a Spadala. I swear he's just done that because he heard you say. But so many of these drivers are so incredibly talented. You can realistically envision, a good amount of them really trying to get a challenge on for a potential pole position here. I mean, we got Vintage, who's just started a lap, currently down in P19, but with the potential to close up, especially given if we ride on board a couple cars in front. Is that a potential for Slipstream coming out of turn 3, I can smell? I think it is.
Yeah, it certainly could be, and Slipstream is king around this circuit. It's king around any circuit, to be honest with you, Josh. We've mentioned it so many times on other broadcasts. Like, in the race, if you don't have Slipstream or DRS, you're basically out of that race unless a safety car happens. And in qualifying, it's one of those important things where you can close up behind a car, especially if we're running a bit more downforce, because a lot of these drivers will be running a bit more downforce than others. They're going to want that slipstream, and it's going to be so important. But it's important, Josh, to get the right distance between slipstream and dirty air.
Yes.
Because if you get that dirty air, especially in these modern-day cars, even though they've apparently got rid of a lot of the dirty air, it still struggles to follow.
Of course. Again, it's one of those things, you take it with the good with the bad, but sometimes the bad can outweigh the good, and it's especially true when it comes to the likes of dirty air, of a trade-off you necessarily get it for slipstream. You're thinking about going through Sector 2, yes, you're going to get a beautiful toe up into Turn 4, but then after Turn 4, you're suffering for a good, half a second, maybe a little bit more, throughout the rest of the lap, really looking, I'm saying half a second, that's being a bit generous, but we do have that sim racer here, looking to start his lap. He's took another preparation lap here. Shall we ride on board with him?
Yes, let's ride on board with the sim racer. So into turn 1, you want to ride on that curb on the right-hand side and get a nice exit. DRS wide open, and now through what is apparently turn 2, but let's be honest,
there you go.
It's just
turn
a straight
2,
line.
sorted.
There's turn 2 there. So into the first heavy braking zone on the circuit. You want to ride that curb on the inside and then get the power on early. You can see he's done that very nice indeed. Get the DRS wide open here as we run down the main straight. Now heading into turn 4. Very tricky corner here. Of course, we've seen drivers spin out here before in the main race, and now get the power on again through a slight kink here, and then flip it back to the left-hand side for another brilliant corner. Gravel trap on the outside, car in the gravel trap just trying to avoid anyone going through, and now easy to invalidate here on the right, but he's done it very nicely, riding those curbs, and now into the trickiest part of the track. The right-hander, quick shift down into 7th, he goes up into 6th actually just to avoid invalidation, shifts down again, doesn't want to invalidate on the right or the left, but he doesn't now, up to the line, Darragh's wide open, he's going to cross the line and improve to a 103.552, but is there anyone else improving behind him, Josh?
Absolutely, that was a phenomenal lap time, but we do have more drivers looking to reveal lap times. One of them was Banana before I ended up getting caught up in a little incident, but it's unfortunate. There's so many different drivers here, it's going to be very tough to try and pick one. Eric's invalidated his lap time. Of course, we've got Banana having that slight issue. Basil, I do believe, will be next, who's slightly down on his lap time. He's going to have to find a little bit more time for these 2 final corners, but of course, he pushed it a little bit too hard, and that's where the invalidation starts creeping. Scarenzi can't improve.
Oh, it would have
But
been close.
Rabin's had an incident there in the second sector, won't be able to improve. I presume the only driver left. No.
And Matty's invalidated as well.
Metaldo's invalidated as well. So, that'll round out the qualifying session. But, was it ever in doubt after that first run of laps anyway? That sim racer with a stonking banker lap time, and then just comes and puts the cherry on the top there with that second lap. Absolutely fantastic stuff from the Mercedes driver, showing why he is currently top of the standings with a dominating performance in qualifying. But as we mentioned before, some drivers might have set up their car towards qualifying and less so for the race. So it could still all be up for gains in the race. Don't write it off yet, because we still have a very, very close grid here. Looking at Basil, Scarenzi, Eric, all of them very happy to get us sorted in a fight. Rapid Banana, Rapid Connor, Rapid Mini, Rapid Scissor, the Rapid family looking to try and live up to their name, put a bit of pressure on the top 6. Certainly going to be something we're going to keep an eye on. AJ Mackey, Metaldo Footy as well, getting close together. And then, of course, you've got a couple of the drivers down towards the back of the field. But again, separated by very, very little. We're looking at 5 thousandths between 15th and 17th. That could certainly be up for good racing. And you add all that up around the circuit of Austria, especially turn 1, you could be looking at a bit of a chaotic start.
Yeah, well, just to mention, I'm just thinking of other chaotic starts in my head. I believe, do you remember 2017, I believe? It was Daniel Kvyat, Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen all getting caught up in turn 1. And then obviously we had, I think also in that race, was that the race that Bottas supposedly jumped the start, but he actually got it near perfect?
I think that was...
I think it...
No.
Was it 2017 or
no,
2018?
No, that was when Bottas was in the Mercedes. I remember that one.
Was Bottas in the Mercedes in 2017?
No. Yeah, it was. Maybe then.
It was too.
Right.
Maybe it was.
So,
but
qualifying, that sim racer, keep an eye on him. He's absolutely rapid, but he's not alone. He's got Basil, Scarenzi, Eric, Rabin and Banana to keep him company. You've got the Rapid family from 7th to 9th, and AJ Mackey, Metaldo, Deboya, Finbop, Crew Steamers, Devil, Monster, Oliver Sequeira, Alberto, and then, of course, you've got so many, talented drivers which all, can culminate in different parts of a track. Realistically, it's all going to be very much up to whatever's going to happen, but we ooh for a reason. You can see on your screens right now, it is overcast, it's not sunny, it's not bright, it's not like the qualifying. How's that going to affect the drivers, especially considering tyre pressures can be such a key factor around the circuit?
Yeah, it's going to affect any drivers that want to go for a harder set of tyres at the start of the race. I'm thinking hards will be very much not the tyre to start on in these kind of conditions. We don't know what the race is going to do later on. Of course, we don't have the weather radar, unfortunately. It's not available for us, even though I think it should be. But maybe next year. We might get it next year. But of course, that sim racer in these conditions, with it being cold on track, is he going to really want to start on the hard tyre? If anyone behind him fancies going a little bit softer, maybe start on the medium. Maybe we'll see some people on the softs. That would be very risky indeed. Are we going to see anyone make a launch? Because it's not a long run down into turn 1, Josh.
No, it's not. It's not a long launch, is it? I mean, realistically, if you end up getting a good enough start, you could really start putting a bit of pressure heading up into turn 1. And then, of course, even if you're just a little bit too far back, but we do have the 5 red lights at this moment in time. We've got them up. We've got them prepped. All the drivers are ready. And away we go here. It's absolutely fantastic start there from Basil, being able to pull someone alongside. You see there, the hard compounded type of that Sim Racer and Scarenzi. Basil has to take the most of his opportunities here, as we've got battles breaking out all over the pack. We've got Eric looking to try and make the move on Scarenzi, exactly what he needs to do on that medium compounded tyre. We've got so many different drivers here looking to try and capitalise on it. And Alex, did I just hear you murmur saying it might be raining?
I thought I saw some drops on the camera. I might have been insane, but I swear I saw some drops coming down on the camera at the start of that race. Maybe I'm just nuts, but I swear I saw some rain come down. It wouldn't make sense for Sim Racer to start on hards if it was raining, so maybe I am nuts. But around the outside, it goes Mr. Eric. It's very dangerous to make a move here. We saw Albon and Lewis crash there, but up the inside is Basil. He's made the move stick, and he's up into the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. I think I must have seen things. It's not raining at the moment.
Yeah, it's certainly not raining, I can tell you that much. But what a start from Basil, doing exactly what he needs to do to get the race lead over the hard compound tyre that Sim Racer's using to try and do something, to try and pull away, burn a bit of ERS, just be a bit disruptive. We saw that Sim Racer's pace in the qualifying. We know he's got amples of it. It's just how well he's able to get those hard tyres into the perfect operating window, where he's able to kind of put a little bit more disruption onto those trying to use the medium tyres, trying to breeze past him, trying to make it as difficult as possible. But when you've got the likes of Eric, Scarenzi, Banana, all hot on your heels, it all amounts and it all just adds up for a little bit more pressure.
Of course, DRS not enabled until the third lap of the race. We've got about a 5-wide battle going on behind, as that Sim Racer has just taken the lead of the Grand Prix. As we go into that braking zone of turn 3, everyone trying to go wheel to wheel. You can't make it 4 wide there, lads. That is not going to work out well, but somehow they all still go through it.
I'm not too sure. That's absolutely brilliant that all of them managed to get through that. Hopefully no damage for anyone. But we see Eric there once again making a move on Screnzi. Now, Basil's in that awkward situation. How much does he really want to burn through these tyres and try and catch a pass out Sim Racer? Because for me personally, I would absolutely want to try and fly past him at the first given opportunity. But I feel like that Sim Racer's done enough to warrant himself being able to get trapped within a DRS train, which is exactly where he'll want to be on that harder compounded tyre.
Yeah, even leading that Grand Prix, of course, he's going to get overtaken again and again and again with DRS. It's just how Austria is, unfortunately, with the DRS straights. But a 107.0 there to set their first lap time. They're on those hard tyres. They're going to go long into this race. It's down to really Eric and Basil there to really cause a bit of chaos in this top 3. Because if they can get in front of that Sim Racer, jump in front of him, we've got already a 3-second time penalty there, but already defending the inside, that Sim Racer is not interested in doing anything as Matty Footy's retired there. We get a virtual safety car here on lap 3.
Yeah, that's on the exit of turn 1 there. Very unfortunate from Mataldo, but VSC gives these drivers a little bit of an opportunity to recharge the battery before going back at it here, which is exactly what they're going to need if they're looking to try and maybe drag those hard tyres in between a couple of the medium runners and, kind of, get themselves in amongst it, be disruptors.
Are we sure it's not raining?
We're sure.
I might be seeing screen tears, because it looked like...
You might be. No, it's
so
still
odd.
dry.
No, it's still definitely dry. It just looks like sometimes it looks like it's raining from certain angles, but I guess it's not at the moment. Maybe I've just got rain on the mind.
Well, hopefully it'll stay in your mind so we can have a dry race here, one not affected by rain, so it'll give these drivers ample opportunity. You saw that Sim Racer there trying to line up, to try and dart away, get a great exit out of that final corner, but VSC, there's no telling, there's no rhyme or rhythm for when it goes away. It'll just do so as it pleases. But Basil's going to be hoping, for the very least, that he's going to be able to get it going at the same time as that Sim Racer, not get caught out going into a braking zone or going out of the traction zone. He's going to be certainly looking forward to just try to hold on to the back of that Sim Racer, as we do see PRL Crew Steamers diving it into the pits.
Medium tyres from the hards. He's made his mandatory pit stop now. Those hards won't get him to those mediums won't get him to the end of the race as we restart now on lap 4, and we actually get that DRS in the DRS zone, and that might have caught the Sim Racer here as Basil's going to go for the inside. Oh, maybe a double move there from the Sim Racer, because I don't think he was really expecting that DRS to restart where it did, and now that's going to mean Eric and Basil go wheel to wheel. And it's actually allowed Eric to get in front. Was that a little bit dirty from the Sim Racer there? Looked like a couple of moves.
Potentially, but the stewards, of course, are going to be the ones who have to have a look at that one. We're not the judge or the jury, we're just here to observe. But it did very much look like that Sim Racer made a move to the inside, going defensive. Basil went to the inside even further, and then he kind of cut back, didn't he? But again, we'll have to have a little look at that further on in the timeline. But at this moment in time, Eric seems to be the driver looking to kind of cause a little bit more pressure on these drivers in front as Monster dives it into the pits here. Hopefully no damage, hopefully no retirement, looking to continue going further in this race. Lap 5 already for a pit stop. It might indicate maybe picking up a slight bit of damage.
Yeah, maybe. It's interesting that both Ferraris have gone for that pit stop. I understand why Cruise Teamers went for it, because obviously there was a VSC, and you basically get a free pit stop under a safety car. But as we were mentioning with DRS, it's very rare to lose that DRS advantage so early on. Ooh, that Sim Racer didn't think Eric was making that stick, and a little bit of turn in there. Hopefully he hasn't got any front wing damage, but I think that was literally a bit of a tap, Josh. That's all it is, just a bit of a tap.
A little rub in his racing, as I
That's
always
what we like to call
say,
it.
never hurts anyone. But to quote Darragh's favourite IndyCar and NASCAR lines, cautions often breed cautions, and so far it's not lived up to the hype of caution after caution. After that VSC, everyone's sort of been able to form themselves in some sort of pack. Of course, we've got this pack here all the way back to Rapid Mini. AJ Mack is kind of by himself, Rapid Scissor also by himself, Duboya also by himself, and then it kind of phases out into more individuals here and there, and you can already see how much these individuals are able to make that little bit of extra clean air work throughout that second sector.
And I'm going to say that Mr. Simracer here is not running as much downforce as the rest of them, because he closed up very quickly to Eric. I know Eric doesn't have DRS, but still, that was a very quick straight line speed from that Mercedes. But we could just see Eric go straight back past. This is always the danger of doing this, Josh, making that move early on, especially when you've got a DRS zone straight after it. It's very similar in places like Spain.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let me just put this image into your head. You're that sim racer on a harder compounded tyre. Why wouldn't you want to try and, cause these medium tyres to go pick up a couple marbles here and there, lose a little bit of time? Why wouldn't you?
Well, exactly. Why wouldn't you? And of course, his name is actually Alex, so we have a connection. That's how it works.
Oh, very true, very true.
So I can actually think what he's thinking right now, and he is right now thinking he's in the prime position to win this Grand Prix.
Certainly is, but with 6 laps, now 7, just being completed, still a little bit of a long haul, looking at probably about another 28 minutes of close contact racing. And when you've got drivers going for brave moves, especially like Rapid Mini and Rabama, having a little battle going into turn 1, it can cause a couple disruptions, as we're going to see the swap for the lead here once again. That sim racer taking the inside line, getting slightly pinched, not necessarily being allowed to come back fully over to the racing line because Eric placed his car beautifully. Gives Eric just enough there to be able to work with the DRS, get that overtake sorted once again. Thank you, EA, for a lovely camera angle of the front wing, not being able to show the overtake. But
yeah, I tend to find that easiest.
Yeah, if these lot keep sort of swapping positions like this, they could potentially find themselves at risk. To the likes of Basil, to the likes of Scarenzi, who are able to charge a little bit more battery, not willing to deploy it as heavily, to be able to maybe get caught out, maybe even into turn 1.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it, here, Josh? We're on lap 7 already, and again, this DRS train has formed as we expect it to. Obviously, we're keeping an eye on the hard runners, because we've got, how many hard runners in this DRS train? 4? 4 hard runners, 4 medium runners, correct? I think that is what it is right now.
That is correct.
So that is a very interesting mix of tyres. And a lot of these hard runners struggling already on their tyres, Josh. Now, that's probably not wear, that's probably just warmth because of how cold the track is.
Yeah, of course. I mean, those tyres will need a little bit of time to heat up. But here... Oh! Is that a bit of contact? I saw debris. And that'll be Basil.
Basil. He's lost his front wing on the back of that sim racer. Sim racer, I think, was thinking about a move on Eric, pulled back in, and then broke, probably not where Basil was expecting it. And the overspeed can really affect you into that corner. And now we've got a broken front wing for an Aston Martin. And that is going to be a big blow to Basil's title hopes and race win hopes here in this game.
Only sort of silver lining you could potentially say for Basil there is at least he's on the medium compounded tyre. He can dive into the pits to get a set of hards on and look to eke it out until the end of a race, but he will very much be a sitting duck if he decides to stay out there, as I do believe we saw Banana there for a brief moment of time just absolutely fly off the corner of his screen, but he does decide to box it this lap, which is probably the right decision. Oh dear.
Alfa Romeo has broken his wing because it's such an awful pit lane entrance.
Oh dear, it's all falling apart here for Basil's race. But that sim racer, Eric, still looking strong out front. And this, of course, only just brings Scarenzi in. He's been waiting, he's been lurking for this opportunity. And now it might finally be upon him, especially if these drivers keep wanting to go too wide here.
Yeah, and keep an eye on Rapid Connor as well, Josh. You were telling me about how he's very, very fast. And I think he's got a real good opportunity to get involved in this fight. Obviously, with Basil and Rapid Mini both down in 14th and 16th respectively now, could be a very interesting battle for the lead here, as we might get a switchback of absolute dreams here from that sim racer. I love a switchback, Josh, when I love to see one. Is he going to force it around the outside? No, on this occasion, he can't do it, but can he switch back to the inside? And he is there on the inside. Oh, he backed out of it. He thought about it, though.
Yeah, you've got to consider now the amount of backing out he had to do there. It's real Scarenzi right back in, but that sim racer still seems to have an abundance of pace on that hard compound tyre. In comparison to Eric's 8-lap old medium tyres, Eric seems to slowly be struggling here, especially heading into the corners. Not necessarily getting out of them, but certainly heading into them. Or is it just a little ploy? Is it a little tactic to try and back up that sim racer to make him feel a little bit more pressure from the likes of Scarenzi and Rapid Connor? I feel like only time's going to be able to tell for that one.
Yeah, it certainly will. He may just want that little bit of a buffer between himself and that sim racer. But obviously, it's not going to be really a buffer because the guys behind him are just as fast, as we have a EA server connection problem.
That is lovely. Well, that's...
And that also probably means that it's for everyone, because then you didn't reconnect there.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll be able to get back in as soon as possible. Until then, I suppose we're just going to have to see if we can find out what's happening.
Let me just.
Oh dear.
Find... Oh, is this a big EA problem, or is this a?
This is a Steam going down on a Tuesday evening problem.
Oh no. Probably just jump to the Steam servers page.
I believe so.
Steam is down for routine maintenance every Tuesday.
Yeah, of course it is.
So we have a Steam server problem.
Yep.
Now, of course, there is a slight thing with that, Josh, that not everyone is driving on Steam in our lobby. Some of them are on PlayStation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Let's retry the connection and try and hop in as soon as possible. Because it does very much appear like a couple of these drivers are suffering from it, which, again, very unfortunate, but hopefully we'll be able to dive it right back in and be able to catch up once again with the action which is happening. And I'll tell you what, it's already looking great, because apparently the Steam servers only need to go down for a millisecond for maintenance before we're able to get them back on track here. Thank the Lord, because for a moment I thought we was going to be missing out a key part of this race with the drivers diving into the pits, getting pit stops. Thankfully, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be back in here.
It's just one of those fancy features of sim racing. But somehow, Josh, the sim racer has ended up in 4th place. We've missed quite the battle there, it seems, for the lead.
We might just have to imagine.
Okay, we'll imagine it now.
Yeah, I feel like that sim racer pushed it too hard, went a little wide. Boom.
It was an amazing battle. I imagined it in my head just now.
But I will point this out real quick. Eric, Rapid Connor, still very much on those medium tyres, holding pace with the likes of Scarenzi and that sim racer. Fantastic feat as we see that sim racer sliding the car in, trying to get as much speed as possible. We mentioned it when that sim racer was around Imola for the first time, and we really got to stare at it. You know, he really likes a loose end on the car, he likes trying to slide it in, he likes having those drifting techniques. But around a circuit like Austria, it can be so difficult to try and implement.
Yeah, it certainly can, because it's one of those circuits. It's going to sound silly, Josh. I know I'm going to sound silly here for a second, but it's one of those circuits where you have to be on it every single lap. Like, you know, it's short, it's not exactly long. Circuits like this, Saudi Arabia, I find as well. If you're not, Qatar is one of those worst ones for it. There's no real rest for you to have a little bit of a break. There's not like any major long straights, to be honest with you, because even on those long straights, you've got cars behind you or DRS. And you're going to get attacked every single lap. It's one of those things you're going to get attacked every single lap if you're not careful. So unless you're 30 seconds out in front, or you know you're struggling, you know you're in the mid pack with no one around you, you've got to concentrate for 36 laps.
Yeah, very much so. It's one of those where it can certainly take its toll on the driver. Realistically, the only place you might even be able to get a break is down that start-finish straight. But again, it's so short. You know, it's painstakingly agonising to be able to kind of switch your brain off that little bit. But at the end of the day, it's not always quite there. As we're starting to see more of these drivers battle closely here. Scarenzi applying the pressure to Eric. That sim racer there sending an absolute worldie of a dive bomb on Rapid Connor, catching him by surprise. Certainly caught me by surprise there as well.
Certainly did. So lap 13 of 36 here, Josh. We're already flying through this Grand Prix, as we expected we would be. Medium tyres. Lap 15, I'm thinking.
Yeah, surely. Lap 15, maybe lap 14. Trying to go for a cheeky undercut, yeah, because we know how powerful it can be.
Well, again, around a short circuit like this, the undercut is insane. And as we mention it, you know, speak of the devil, and they will appear. Devil, of course, is in the lobby, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. Rapid Connor into the pits here, for what will be an undercut attempt on the leaders, going for, I assume, the hard tyre, or is that a front wing change?
Front wing change.
It's going to ruin his that's going to ruin his undercut attempt if this is an undercut attempt.
So, front wing change. I'm thinking, did himself and that sim racer when that sim racer went for a dive bomb? Was there a potential for contact? Well, the stewards have to have a little bit of a closer look on it.
I'll be down to them.
I certainly will, but we can see Scarenzi here take it to the outside. Once again, we've got a fantastic camera angle to show you absolutely nothing but gravel trap, but Eric was able to hold it on the inside there. Brilliant stuff there from the AlphaTauri driver, defending off a Haas driver. And we know Scarenzi's got the pace to go on and win this race. It just depends whether, you know, he's got the, you know, IQ to be able to defend from that sim racer, because we know that sim racer is very intelligent when he comes when it comes to that window where he can try and overtake, and he can try and put a little bit of pressure on here and there. He's very wise with what he's able to do.
For sure, he certainly will be able to. This will be very interesting indeed. But could you imagine for a second, as we just talk about those camera angles, Josh, if that was the camera angle that had happened when Albon got taken out against Lewis, just to make sure you saw what happened.
Oh yeah, from Albon's car when you saw him run wide, yeah.
Shh. Lewis's fault.
Yeah, of course it is, absolutely. Someone's fault, it's definitely
told me
not. It's Scarenzi diving it up the inside there. Brilliant move there from Scarenzi. Bold and brave. It's absolutely brilliant. Seeing him so confident on the brakes, heading up the hill in turn 3. But you mentioned it again. It's just a bite back, isn't it? Losing that DRS gives the opportunity to the car. You've just overtook to sneak one back past, and these two have to be careful with how much they're fighting, given that sim racer is only 3 tenths behind and still looking very much hungry.
Yeah, and all the way around the outside, where it go. Lovely move there. Completely committed to making that overtake. He wanted that to stick. Rapid is also Rapid Scissor, to be exact, is up into 4th place now. Now, of course, Rapid Connor did have to change his front wing. Now, that is going to ruin an undercut attempt. But, Josh, the more the cars in front stay out, you know, the more this undercut attempt, even with a front wing change, will help him.
Take a look at Basil. Front wing change.
Yep.
He's P10. Ahead of Rapid Connor, and it was only 5 laps.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, 5 laps, and he was able to keep a 4-second gap to the car, which stayed out within a DRS trade. Absolutely fantastic. We see very late minute dives to the inside, but of course we're going to have a potential free wide moment into turn 3. That sim racer very late on the brake, squeezing Eric out there, but of course that's just going to give Scarenzi an absolutely brilliant run. Now that sim racer's got the choice. Does he defend the inside and let Eric try and go back around the outside? Because he still has that DRS. It was a very well-timed overtake there from that sim racer. Once again, wily old fox. He's got the IQ for it. Fantastic work there from the Xbox Mercedes driver.
Just at the point where, you know, he needed to probably think about the fact his tyres were changing. Obviously, the hard tyres are probably at the better stage than the mediums. So he wanted to make that move stick. He wants to dictate the pace now, Josh. But I also think maybe he wants that advantage by pitting in front of the other two. Of course, we don't normally see that from the leader deciding to pit first, but knowing that sim racer, he thinks about this a lot, and he probably would have thought, if I can pit first, I probably have the pace to get back in front of some of these guys. So it'll be very interesting to see what he does in this next stint. But we're on lap 17 already. I would have expected to see some more pit stops around now, but I guess everyone is running a bit longer in this race.
Yeah, I mean, the longer they can run it, if they're able to stretch it out to a 1-stop onto the soft compound tyre, that would be anything short of a miracle. As again, we're seeing just Eric and Scarenzi getting caught up a little bit in the battle, and that gives that sim racer an opportunity. It's not the fight they need to be focusing on. They need to start working together to keep tabs on that sim racer, keep him under pressure. And to be quite honest with you, just keep him honest throughout this race. Don't let him pull away. Don't let him get confident. And just keep pushing.
Yeah, they can't really afford to lose out, can they? Here, obviously DRS, as we've mentioned so many times, so important in this year's game.
It's huge.
It's huge, arguably too much. A bit of a rear end loss there from Eric, and maybe we're at the point of the medium tyres running out. I think he wants to get to the pit lane, Josh, but he can't because he's got a car on his inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he did. Yeah, he wanted to get in. He's lost a bit of time.
But on the silver lining for that, Scarenzi didn't lose out on DRS. He's still within touch of that sim racer. He might need to deploy just a slight bit of battery coming up out of turn 1 here, just to make sure he's right on the end of that sim racer before they approach up into turn 3 and of course up into turn 4. But this is really this is their time now. They've got to start pushing on this hard compound tyre. Oh no!
Crash in the final corner. I think we might get away with not having a safety car here, because that could have been horrendous for one of our runners from the top, Rapid Mini, of course, was running near the top, but somehow got away without a safety car there, Josh.
The absolute blindsided miracle. Very, very
Marshall's
fortunate.
doing a great job.
Very fortunate for Eric there. Saved his blushes for that pit stop. But again, you've got to think, fresh hard tyres. How much quicker are they going to be than the old 17-lap hard tyres? It's astronomical, isn't it, Alex, at the end of the day? You could already see the start and the pace being closed up here between Eric and Basil. We're looking at 1.3. I can guarantee within the next couple attempts that'll change. Scarenzi making it very obvious he was going into the pit lane.
He's reacting to it.
No sort of fakes this time, leaving that sim racer out there. No DRS, just a little bit of battery to play with to try and carry that pace through. Now, of course, we've seen the overcut work just as prominently. And really be able to try and grab themselves a great opportunity. I thought
it might be Sim Racer that would react to it, not Scorzini.
I am being asked here to add a couple of these drivers on. Oh dear, right, hopefully no one can see that, but I am being asked.
No, they can't, don't worry.
Okay,
it's fine.
Lovely. I am being asked to add these drivers back, so hopefully I'll be able to grab them back in as soon as possible. It's
all good. I can tell you if anyone pits because I can see that. I can technically see the top 19. So it's all good.
Right, there we go. I've sent both of them a request on Steam. I hope they're either watching, listening, and able to join through Steam. Because if not, it's going to be very, very tough for them to be able to get back in, especially if they require an EA invite.
Sim Racer not pitting.
It's what I was saying. Confidence. This man just, it is just pure confidence. I mean, potentially. I mean, looking slightly further forward. And no, apparently I'm not able to invite him to the race.
It's probably on invite only or by the host. So,
well, I'll tell you what. We can have a little look here. Right. Again, pardon my friends list. Right. Who are we looking for?
Pardon all the people I know because I'm very famous.
Shush. We're getting Rabin in. And then we're going to be looking for Devil.
The Devil.
Does Devil have a clan tag? That's a real question. Not quite, right.
I didn't see him on that list.
Could always invite TM at Marduk. There we go.
There
There's Devil. Lovely. Right. Okay. Hopefully back in. Hopefully the drivers are able to get themselves back into the race. I already see Rabin's reconnected. That's brilliant stuff. Hopefully, in future, Steam will decide not to DDoS their own servers for whatever reason. But notice Scarenzi's gone out on that medium tyre. He was on that hard compound for the longest time, but he's dragged it to the medium. Brilliant stuff.
Leads in.
Oh, this is going to be close. But I do feel like Scarenzi is very comfortably going to be able to get the jump here.
Yeah, I think it might be seeing a little bit of a mistake here from that sim racer. Yes, he's going to have the freshest tyres, Josh. Of course he is.
Yes.
But is he going to have DRS? That's the question I want to answer to him. So where he is? He's coming down the main straight now. These guys coming down the main straight, and he's just coming out of the pit lane exit now. He's going to come out behind Rapid Scissor, or is he? It's going to be very close. We got a retirement on the final corner, and that unfortunately is for one of the guys you reconnected. I imagine they had a little bit of the feature, Josh, where they were not allowed to retake control of their car. If they were given a camera angle, and it's put them straight into retirement.
Oh, don't you just love this game? It's fantastic.
It's just amazing. It's just well written. The code works fantastically for it. We've got a battle for third and fourth right now, though. Going wheel to wheel is Eric and Scorzoni. This is basically the battle for the lead right now, Josh. And unfortunately, Ruben, I do apologise, sir. You have retired from the race because the game doesn't like you.
Apparently so. I mean, realistically, it's unfortunate. It's part of the game. It's one of the beautiful features we love to bash constantly. But I will say, Basil, on those 12-lap-old hard tyres, could potentially still be in contention if a safety car comes out. That could be me huffing a bit of copium, but allow me to do so, please. Because we've got Scarenzi on those fresh medium tyres, that sim racer on even fresher medium tyres. He's going to be looking to catch up to the back of his pack. Real question is, who's going to be able to serve themselves through this field at the fastest rate of knots possible? Will it be Scarenzi getting past Eric, trying to work with Eric to get...
Oh, no, it won't be Scarenzi.
Oh dear. Well, I've commentated cursed. It's just gone from bad to worse. I've tried to get a driver back in. The game's decided to curse him, and then I've just cursed.
I think he got tapped in the rear, or maybe he's lost his rear end there. It is possible to lose your rear end there. It's a lot easier to do so than you think. As Basel there has been overtaken. Basel, sorry, not Basel. That's a football club.
That's
Basel
a hub.
Has been yeah, well, it's a football club as well. Basel into 4th place now. Those hard tyres are at the end of their life, you might say, Josh.
Yeah, they're not looking the best, especially in comparison to that Sim Racer's fresh medium tyres, looking shiny and squeaky, looking very, very quick indeed. But of course, we've got Banana still out of that hard compound tyre. Well, we talk about disruptors quite often. Banana could play a huge role here, even if it is just by offering DRS, similar to what the Haas car, currently in P16, getting lapped at the moment, is doing for Banana. Just giving a little bit of DRS. Again, it's not always the best thing to see, lapped cars interfering with the race, but again, they have every much of a right to complete the race, as the drivers on the lead lap do.
Yeah, for sure, of course. I had that a little bit earlier in a race where I lost out on a podium due to an AI car giving DRS, which was slightly annoying, but I'm fine with it. I'm not salty. As Eric retakes the lead of this Grand Prix, or do they? Banana going to defend up the inside? Surely not with those 22-lap-old hard tyres, and it's going to allow straight the Sim Racer to go past as well. Sim Racer not being given much of a fight there. Oh my goodness me, might have gone in a bit too deep there as he hits the back of Eric. He wants to get on with it, Josh, with those medium tyres.
For some reason, I don't feel like bum drafting round turn 6 is probably the best way to do it, that Sim Racer.
No.
Take your time. You've got the fresher tyres. You have the pace. You've shown it in qualifying. You've shown it in the first stint. Just pace yourself. You've got 13 laps to make this overtake work. Don't get too eager. Stay behind if you need to. But just time it. Timing is everything. Timing is key.
Yeah, he doesn't need to make this move very quickly, Josh. He's got medium tyres on. The car in front has 6-lap-old hards on. He's got DRS. He's got the pace. He can just take his time now. As obviously Rapids in the 3rd place, but Scorzini still in 4th, about 2 seconds off, even with that spin. Be interesting to see if he can catch up to this pack, Josh. Especially if these two start playing a little bit of what we like to call DRS chicken.
Yeah, it's there's a potential for it, but at the same time, if Eric's gonna try and employ a couple of these games to maybe try and get that Sim Racer caught up in a little bit of racing, why wouldn't that Sim Racer just fly past and decide to burn a little bit of his medium tyres, burn a little bit of his battery? As we can see, he's got plenty of on that wheel. It looks about that 50% mark. He's clearly got the fresher tyres, but operating the best at this moment in time. They're a softer compound as well, to add to the misery for Eric. Eric's kind of just having to take this, in his stride, understand the position he's in. He's not exactly in the best position until that moment just then. That Sim Racer picking up a 3-second time penalty for cutting the track. Well, now, that means it's time to push for him. And that's the time he's ran wide as well.
Bit of head loss maybe from that Sim Racer. It happens to everyone, doesn't it? It happens to every driver at some point in their career. Maybe not just every driver, everyone's sportsman. They can lose their heads very easily, and that 3-second time penalty could be the game changer that Eric needed. He wasn't going to beat him on track. Maybe he could have defended him for a few laps, or maybe a lot of laps, but those hard tyres would have eventually struggled. But now that Sim Racer's got a ticking time bomb, rather, with the laps coming down. We've got 10 laps to go when they cross the line, and a 3-second time penalty. And Scorzini will be loving that news as well, because both cars in front of him have time penalties, Josh.
Yep, Scorenzi is in a very powerful position being P4. Medium tyres, not having a time penalty. If you're Eric at this point, you can very much afford to back it up in these last couple of corners, hold that Sim Racer up, and try and damage it as much as possible to keep, to close up that gap in the championship, looking further forward. But again, it's one of those things, we've got so many different friendships within PRL. All these drivers willing to talk to each other, have little chinwags. It's not only just a racing community where they come and prove themselves, it's a racing community where they found friendships, and they found the ability to be able to talk about everything Formula related, whether it's Formula 1, even the likes of NASCAR are being mentioned here, there and everywhere. They're more than happy to have great conversations, but that is the moment that Sim Racer has decided to try and check himself out of contention here. And he's got
Especially
a tall task.
A huge mistake. Yeah, Eric made a bit of a mistake there. I feel like he obviously wanted to let him pass because he wants DRS behind, but then he lost the rear end, and I think those hard tyres are heading through what we like to call, Josh, the graining phase.
Certainly so.
Which is going to cost him time.
Not looking ideal, but you've got to consider what goes around comes around, and that Sim Racer's graining phase will eventually come too.
yeah, but already pulled out a second here, Josh, out of DRS range. But he's out of battery.
I don't know, potentially. It's certainly going to be
Flashing.
something we're going to have to keep an eye on. I mean, you see he's deployed his battery, but he's got out of that DRS range. It just depends how much Eric is necessarily really looking to try and hunt back down that DRS. Eric's flashing as well. Both of them in the hunt.
Yep, this is definitely not over, ladies and gentlemen, so strap yourselves in. We're in for a good finish here. I wonder how this one is going to finish. We're on lap 27 of 36. No rain. Although apparently it has threatened because my eyes have seen it.
Yeah, your eyes have never lied.
No, eyes have never lied at all. So maybe we'll still see some towards the end of this Grand Prix. But this has been a fascinating Grand Prix here. Good battles throughout the grid. Some good comeback drives as well. Obviously, we haven't mentioned Basil in 7th place there. As we got a yellow flag in Sector 1. A car's gone straight on, Josh, one of the Alpha Tauris.
Yeah, and I believe that might have been contact with Finbot there as well. But it's very interesting, you know, Rapid Mini on that fresh set of soft tyres, perhaps going for maybe a slightly too eager move on Finbop. Again, it's one of those things where it'll just happen in time. But AJ Mackey losing a position out there to F7R Banana. Unfortunate for AJ Mackey, but he's got to keep his head level at this point. Banana, a quick driver on fresher soft compound tyres. What is AJ Mackey going to be able to do? Just be able to hold on to try and pull himself along further up the field, because both drivers have penalties. And now Basil behind also has a penalty, gives him a little bit of a window for buffer. Would they potentially be able to maybe hunt for a fastest lap at this point? Because Scarenzi, so far up the field, 10 seconds checked out.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you've just got to go for fastest lap at this point, I think, I'd say, for Basil. But he's going to finish in the points anyway. At the moment, he's going to finish in the points. It's not been the best race for him in terms of he was, you know, he got that throwing damage and he's recovered well into 7th. So we see Finbop going to pits there from Rapid Mini. I wonder if he got a bit of wing damage there. Or he's retired from the session. Oof. Clearly more than just wing damage there, Josh.
Yeah, it's certainly unhappy camp there for half of Mercedes garage, but then the other half of Mercedes garage must be delighted with how that sim race is performing at the minute, using those medium tyres to their full effect, pulling out a 2.4 second gap on Eric. It's looking even more likely now, with 8 laps remaining in this race, that sim racer is going to win this, despite even having a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, and I think he really could come out with the win, because what, 2.5 seconds now, only 5 tenths to find. Of course, now the question is, Josh, he's got to keep it clean for the rest of the race. He does not want to get himself another 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Finbop's Mercedes there has rolled back out of the pit lane.
Yeah, it does that. It's a feature.
Oh, it's a feature. It's another feature. Boy, oh boy, do we love features here in Formula 1 23. One of the features we might have to keep an eye on is how quickly those medium tyres degrade, because Scarenzi, so far, 10 laps in, those medium tyres still not looking that bad. Sliding a little bit out the corner exits, but on the entry, he seems more than competent.
Which is good news for that sim racer.
Very much so, but it could be terrible news for the likes of Eric, who's still trying everything in their power to keep within that 3-second threshold, but every single time they approach this middle sector, that sim race is just using those medium tyres exactly how they were designed, and just getting that little bit of extra bite for the turn-in, a little bit of extra bite on the rear under traction, and just pulling that gap wider and wider. Now lap 29, and that gap is over 3 seconds.
Yeah, and we've mentioned it, haven't we, Josh? How many times have we mentioned it this year? You got no slipstream, you got no pace, really, have you? Doesn't matter how much pace you have in your car. And of course, 12-lap-old hards versus 9-lap-old mediums doesn't help as well. But I mean, it's not looking too good right now, I must say, for Eric. But he will still finish a solid P2 at the moment.
Yeah, very much so. It's all about the level of consistency. We touched on it earlier, didn't we, Alex? Where you've just got to be consistent. You've got to constantly be bringing in that haul of points. The more points you bring in, you know, it might not necessarily be a race win. Yes, for championship leaders winning this race after getting pole, but you're doing your bit. You're collecting your points, waiting for that opportunity for that sim race to slip up. And when he does slip up, the opportunity will be there. As Rapid Scissor there ends up losing a rear. That has shocked me. 13 lap... Oh, okay, we've got even more there.
Oh, my God.
Mackie losing the entire front wing. Oh, no. And a 5-second penalty for a collision under safety car for AJ Mackey after... Oh, my word. Well, safety car's out.
Oh, drive-through penalty.
Oh, my word. Everything's going on. Oh, as soon as we said the race was over and he pulled 3 seconds. Honestly... Wow.
Out of this race with a drive-through.
This is certainly going to cause a little...
He's left. He's retired. Wow.
Wow. Well,
I mean, I don't blame him because pretty much he's game over, Josh. Because there's not going to be another safety car once this comes in.
no.
And
Sprint
once you serve
race.
your drive-through penalty, it's GG.
Very much so, but that's a racer falling out of contention. And I suppose it plays very well onto what I said earlier.
Oh my god, another drive-through penalty.
Eric, there to pick up the pieces when it's available to him.
For sure, he certainly
He's
is.
certainly picked them up now.
He's certainly picked them up now. That is going to be a huge change in the title fight here, Josh.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's also good news from the man in second place.
Scarenzi as well, yes, certainly. I mean, you got to
He
think.
can actually... Hang on, I'm just trying to work out the points. How many points is it for a win?
25.
Is it still 25? It's still the same amount of points, isn't it? So,
Yes, should be.
so just trying to work out. I think he'd be very much on par with the sim racer in terms of title. He's on 79 points right now. 25 added. Going to be close. Actually, no. It's going to be ahead of him, though.
I mean, it all depends on the qualifying, doesn't it? You got to think those 8 bonus points might very well have helped that sim racer just hold on to his lead before heading into the break. But what a momentum swing this could be for the championship. Scarenzi could potentially walk out here grabbing a handful of points. After that sim racer, of course, Alex De Silva not being able to pick up points here. That's a game changer.
Well, it's a huge game changer, and the safety car is going to be out for a maximum of 3 laps here.
And, everyone goes back and thinks of that moment about Hockenheim, as horrible as it is, for a Ferrari fan to bring up, where Seb Vettel had that mistake. Could this be one of those moments in this championship at PRL?
Could be. Certainly could be. Could be a Sebastian Vettel Hockenheim moment, or, an Abu Dhabi 2021 moment.
Isn't that where Sergio Perez decided he wanted to be a racing driver?
Yeah, he defended for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then also his car mysteriously ran out of fuel with a lap to go.
Anyway, moving on from that, we're not here for corruption. PRL does not support corruption. We're here to support great vibes within the community. Of course, if you're not in the community, get yourself in the community. Hop over to the Discord, sign up, get yourself involved. There's 3 tiers which run. Of course, you've got Tier 1 runs tonight. It tends to go live about 9:20 GMT. And then, of course, you've got Tier 2 tomorrow. Goes live 10 PM GMT. And then, of course, you got Tier 3, which isn't broadcast, but it is still ran. And there's so many different levels of just sort of drivers you can find here, there, and everywhere. We've got drivers from Tier 2 at the minute filling in for Tier 1. Everything can happen here, there, and everywhere. But what we're looking at right now is 5 cars DNFing out this race. Scarenzi and Eric lead in the field. F7R Banana, Basil, AJ Mackey, all with time penalties. Rapid Mini Crew Steamers as well. Monster Vintage with time penalties. Those time penalties are going to be absolutely massive, especially those which have more than 3 seconds. Look at the likes of AJ Mackey, Rapid Mini, Monster, and then Vintage with the drive-through.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where these guys can jump themselves up to. Of course, Devil wasn't even in the race for half of it. He missed a lot of this race due to being disconnected by the Steam servers.
Oh, no, he's still... Oh...
Is he still AI?
No, he's stuck behind the cars.
Oh, he's lapped.
Right, can we have a bit of corruption? Allow lapped cars to pass, please.
Yeah, I've given the order. Lap cars can the cars between these cars can unlap themselves.
No, you're not the race director. Mythbusters is the race director. He's the one who runs the show here. He's the one who sets everything up for all these drivers. But you can see Devil. Oh, it feels awful, doesn't it? Because
Devil
he just
go for it.
He just wants to get back.
Mind.
Yeah, well, the game minds, the penalties mind.
Yeah, unfortunately, the feature will disqualify him. Unfortunately, so that is not good news for Devil.
It's horrible. It really, really is.
Safety car in this lap.
Back in this lap. Alex, you're Scarenzi on this point. Where are you expecting Eric to go, and why?
Got to go around the final corner, haven't you?
I don't know.
Leave him waiting. That's why I'd do it. See, the safety car's going to take a while to come back into the pits. It's a long exit. out of the final corner. You catch them on that final corner napping, Josh. Could also give them a time limit penalty if they decide to push it a bit more when you didn't expect the car to go.
That's why I would say penultimate, surely. You make sure Scarenzi's directly behind you and use that dirty air to try and waft him off the circuit to pick up a warning, or maybe even a time penalty, depending on how many warnings he's got. That's where I would choose to go. But again, I'm a master of a dark art. These drivers have mutual respect for each other. So we will be seeing Eric here trying to time it to perfection.
Ooh,
no.
Later.
Well, is this going to be a Magello situation?
He's gone now.
He's gone now. But has that been enough of an impact on Scarenzi? It doesn't look like it, because Scarenzi's still right with him. And then this will all lead on to a brilliant battle heading up into turn 3. That 3/10 gap will be narrowing down by the meter. All these drivers with slipstream of one another. You've got to start thinking of like Banana, Basil. They're going to get 2, 3, 4 times the slipstream, being stuck behind a vacuum of another car again and again and again. There's so many great battles happening all up and down the grid. Rapid Mini there looking for a position. AJ Mackey there. I believe his front wheel popped off.
Oh my God! So there was a lot of
carnage.
What happened there? There was just everything flying over the place. I'm not sure exactly who that was, and people were losing faces all over the shop. But that was AJ Mackey, I think, lost his front wing. We still got out of the lead here, Josh, and DRS is not going to be enabled until the last lap, lap 36. And right now, it's Eric who still leads Scarenzi, who is right behind him. Obviously, I don't know how many time penalties these two have as well. It could come down to time penalties if one of them picks up a warning. They could be on 2 warnings. They could be on none warnings.
I mean, you gotta sit here and think. DeBoya looking in a great position to be able to pick up a podium. I mean, surely one of the drivers ahead both the drivers ahead have got the 3-second time penalties. I thought one of them might have had 6, as we're going to see a couple of drivers dive it into the pits. But Rapid Mini makes that move. That's going to be critical in order to try and help. You know, maybe not even necessarily damage DeBoya, but like, it could potentially put him out of contention for fighting for a podium, as Scarenzi once again gets nice and close up to the rear end of Eric. Banana there going for a little detour of the circuit. Not the ideal way to go around. So Basil looking here, trying to make this move stick. Of course, this is for position. Both of them have the penalties, as we've got another driver retiring from a session in the pit lane in AJ Mackey. Again, a very unfortunate race. But Scarenzi is all over the back of Eric here, with 1 lap left to go. With the DRS being effective, does Eric let him past, heading down into turn 1?
Oh, this is the waiting game, isn't it? You wait for that DRS until the last lap. He wants it down that main straight, and he's going to get it as it stands, unless Eric decides he wants a little bit of DRS chicken games. He knows the car behind them have time penalties. That's all he has to worry about right now. So we're on to the last lap, lap 36, down the main straight now. Is he going to do what he did before with that sim racer, let him pass into the main straight and then use DRS down the second one, as Vintage is disqualified for ignoring his drive-through penalty? Maybe he's trying to take it to the end, but here we go. Scorzini going for the move into turn 1. He's going to take the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix, but surely you've got to think Eric is going to get that second run. He gets a brilliant exit out of the corner. He's got more ERS. He's got DRS enabled. So here we go, the run down to the last, one of the last braking zones on the circuit, and he's done it. He takes the lead back ahead of Scorzini, and that surely is the move sorted, because he's got no ERS left to battle back.
Yep, Scarenzi's certainly looking to try and pile anything possible pressure-wise onto Eric, but it might just not be enough here. So close, agonisingly close, you would say, for Scarenzi here, still trying to battle every millimetre of this circuit. But the way the cards have folded here for Day has allowed Eric to capitalise on what has been a terrific race for him, holding onto the back of that sim racer, capitalising on opportunities, and coming across the line to win here at round 5 at PRL. Tier 1, Eric, fantastic work. Scarenzi P2, and DeBoya finds himself up on the podium there with the penalties applied to Basil, Banana, Rapid Mini. Monster coming across the line there. P7, Crew Steamers still looking to get a finish here. Comes across the line. Will be a great handful of points there for Ferrari. Of course, we've got Alberto and Oliver Sequeira still yet to finish their lap. But as far as things go, what, you know, of course Lady Lookouts be involved for Eric, but he was always there.
Yep, he was always there. He was always involved in it, and sometimes you just got to take the luck when it comes to you. But also, congrats to DeBoa there to pick up 3rd place. Again, got to take the luck when it comes to you, Josh. He did not pick up 1 time penalty, and that got him in the end, as I think fastest lap did go to the Red Bull right at the end.
Yeah, exactly. It's so close. But you've got to give credit where credit's due. So many different drivers gave it the rule here today. Who was your driver of the day, Alex?
driver of the day, I think I've got to give it to Eric, haven't I? I think he's done such a great race. He was just there the entire Grand Prix, put the pressure on Sim Racer, and Sim Racer made that mistake. It's the game at the end of the day. Maybe it wasn't his mistake. It can happen, but it just happens. Just happens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly one of those. It tends to just happen sometimes. But Eric being able to maximise for a result here will help his championship standings so much. And against Scarenzi, once again, finding a couple extra points here on that Sim Racer. It's not quite often you get to catch up to a championship leader in such a way, but these drivers have certainly done a fantastic job in doing so. But to run you through the order for this race one last time, we've got Eric there with P1, Scarenzi P2, Deboya, as you mentioned, securing himself a podium, starting from P12, fantastic stuff from him, Basil there P4, Banana P5, Rapid Mini P6, Monster P7, Crew Steamers P8, Alberto P9, Oliver Square P10, Devil, with the disconnect, comes in P11, AJ Mackie P12, that Sim Racer, retired from a session there, P13, Rapid Scissor, Finn Bop, Rabin, Rapid Connor, Bataldo Footy, all retired from a session. Then, of course, we've got Vintage there refusing to serve a drive-through penalty and ends up getting disqualified from the session. But as far as things go, how was your debut to PRL, Alex?
It's very good. It was a very good race. Of course, we had incidents, but and we had a last-minute safety car. But it's good racing, isn't it? It was solid racing throughout the whole field. And now next weekend. I always say that next weekend because I think it's Formula One, Josh. Next Tuesday. Unless there's a break week. Have we got break week?
Well, it's a double break week, I do believe.
Double break week.
We will be back on the 8th of April, if I'm not mistaken.
Which is a Monday, apparently.
What?
The 8th of April is a Monday.
I must have got my dates slightly wrong then, to say the very least. But certainly looking strong for the way these drivers are going to be able to come back, be able to sort of challenge themselves, and really give it their all.
Yeah, the dates are all one out.
Yes, 9th of April.
Because Austria says the 18th,
yes.
And it's the 19th today.
9th of April. We'll pick that one up there.
It's fine. You do a lot of stuff, Josh. It's fine.
I know. My head hurts, but end of the day, there's no excuse for mistakes. Apologies on my behalf there, PRL. But we are just going to wait here for a little bit longer to see if any drivers want a podium interview. Some of them might not necessarily want a podium interview. That was a very, heated race. A lot of emotion put into it, and it will certainly have drained the drivers racing for the 36 laps around here with such high octane value for all the drivers to be able to try and capitalise on. But I mean, we think about that race, so many great overtakes all up and down the grid. We had Basil making moves, we had Scarenzi making moves, of course we had that Sim Racer making moves as well up towards the front. But not only that, we had the likes of Rapid Colour trying to make moves, we had Finbop trying to make moves. All together throughout the entire grid, it was utterly fantastic watching them, send here and there and everywhere. It wasn't your traditional Austrian Grand Prix. It wasn't waiting. It wasn't playing as reserves. It wasn't managing ERS. It was just full-on racing, and that's what we'd love to see here at PRL.
That's exactly what we want to see. That's exactly what we want to see. As much as you can say, they should have, waited just till their ERS. That's not what we want to commentate on. We want to commentate on, banging racing, and that's what we got.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if that's going to be anything to set for tomorrow night, I'm sure we're going to be having an absolute banger in Tier 2 tonight. Of course, we'll be live at 9:50 GMT for the race to start at 10 PM. Make sure you're there on Twitch, on YouTube, wherever you want to be. We'll be streaming, we'll be bringing you the action. And if it's anything like tonight, you're not going to want to miss it. Once again, I'd love to thank Alex for joining me here in the comms box. Alex, is there anything you want to say to round us out?
No, apart from thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed being here, and maybe I'll be here in the future more. You never know.
Absolutely. Thank you all for watching. It's been a pleasure, and we'll catch you next time for some more PRL. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.